Hi, it's Lisa Moore from Inspiring Talks Brighton, and we are doing our Inspiring Talks stories, slightly different from our live events. And I have the lovely Nisanka here with me today, who came and spoke at our last online event for Inspiring Talks in September. So let me tell you a little bit more about Nisanka. I'm going to read her profile because I can't possibly remember it all. And then I'm going to hand over the screen to her. So the talk today, Nisanka is going to share with us about when the door to anxiety closes. And I know that she's going to share some of her personal story. But she's a life coach and a therapist, and she helps ambitious women whose progress has been stagnated by anxiety and helps to make them feel calm, confident, and resilient. Um, so I'm not going to say any more than that because I think it's all going to become very clear in this amazing talk. Nisanka has an incredible story. I hope you will enjoy it. I hope that it will inspire you. And I'm going to hand over the screen now. So it's all yours.
Thank you. All mine now?
All yours.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for Lisa giving me this opportunity. So, my story or the topic of the talk today is when the door to anxiety closes. So, that may sound over ambitious. After all, anxiety is the body's natural response to stress, and we will, one way or the other, experience stress in our lives. So, let me tell you my story. In fact, I said I think at the event, put your seatbelts on because I'm going to take you on a roller coaster, emotional roller coaster, or show you the emotional roller coaster that I have been on. So I was born and raised in Sri Lanka. My parents belonged to very poor working class background. Most of my childhood, my father actually had no job. My mother managed to feed us with the small salary that she got from teaching. Teacher in Sri Lanka is not going to get you that much money. Um, Poverty actually never bothered me growing up because in that remote village that we grew up, everybody was poor. It's a bit like if I ran out of sugar and I'll just knock on neighbor's door, ask a small cup of sugar, and then we'll do the same for each other. So it really never bothered me. But I think what bothered me was my parents' wedding vow, if they had any. But I always imagine it must have gone something like this. Um, I promise I will mentally and physically torture you. I will spend every second of my life plotting how I can undermine you and devalue you. And I will show you what a miserable life you're going to have with me. And until the death um, uh, do us apart, or one of us kill the other. I always imagine just that must have been their wedding vow, just looking at their life. So obviously, as a result, I grew up amidst domestic violence at its best. And I always look at some of these Hollywood movies and I think, well, actually, my parents must have taught them how to create the villain in their movies because, nobody can come up with stuff like that sometimes. Anyway, but the sad thing is, sometimes my mom and my neighbor, who is also both women very financially independent, would talk about their harrowing experiences, and then would go back to the houses, live the same life, continue to live the same life, and they're still doing that. Um, Although things have calmed down at my house, actually. Um, so which obviously this situation at home exposed me to negligence, mostly emotional negligence and sexual abuse at the age of 7. At the age of 9, I've had several other incidents where I was very close to being abused, but obviously my hypervigilance has been very active. Therefore, I managed to escape, still traumatized. I witnessed an eruption of a war, riots where dead bodies were a common sight, and dogs barking at night meant another disappearance of a person. So when I say I don't like dogs, especially in England, when I see friends, I say I don't like dogs. Please don't judge me because it's got nothing to do with the poor dogs themselves. They're lovely animals. Um, Again, I was also born and raised in a culture where women are suppressed. Even today, I hear stories of suppression and oppression, and that uh, assigned limit assign limits, limitation on me as a person. And my struggle growing up to be heard, to be seen, to actually go for my aspiration actually qualifies for another trilogy, which, by the way, I have actually started writing a book. Um, uh, so along the way, I learned not to trust anyone, to completely shut down emotionally, and to be hyper vigilant. Although I didn't know it was anxiety at the time, I knew there were many fears within me that's been piling up. I just, just like many of us do, I also put on a really good, strong mask, facade. I found an escape as well. I had addictive behaviors towards books and studies. I completed one course after the other, which did serve me well. But books, books and the characters in the books, they were safe. They were my friends, and I didn't feel threatened by them. So very addictive to that, and it's provided a good withdrawal for me from everything that was going on in my head. But the real reason why I kept going from one course to another, completing one course to another, was actually just to hide away from unresolved traumas and stay in that comfort zone. Like to consider myself an intelligent person. It has served me well, but trauma was still going on. So there's so much we can fake before we hit the rock bottom. I had no choice but to face the reality with the birth of my daughter. So, with the diagnosis came clarity of my behavior. Being diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder gave me awareness of what was going on. So, all this snappiness, the mood swings, everything had a name, everything had a reason. And I went through conventional therapy like counseling, CBT, self-help books, changing diets, changing, leaving your job, um, meditation, spas, you name it. But each second I spent the time with my daughter, I was reliving the traumas, and none of the approaches gave me the resolution I was looking for. But long story short, after many different types of therapies, EFT and matrix reimprinting helped me. It did it for me. And I no longer live in the traumas or the emotions relating to it. Closing the door anxiety involved a deep dive into myself, of facing the fears, finding a resolution to traumas, dealing with the emotions that I had been constantly living in, and discovering a new me, or in fact, discovering who I truly am. From my experience, another aspect to closing the door to anxiety is to find purpose in your life, something bigger than your life to be working towards. And I found mine in the work I do in helping women manage their anxiety using the same approaches that helped me, and the charity I'm hoping to start in Sri Lanka, if all goes well, end of next year, to 2020. So please, Corona, go away. Um, so one of the earliest struggles and one of the last to deal with was trust. Trust means being able to live with the unknown. And you see, anxiety and trust are not the best buddies. Where anxiety is, trust doesn't want to be seen. When trust begins to enter our life, that's a sign that anxiety is leaving us. So, in one of the most unusual circumstances, I made a decision to give trust a go. I chose the word decision here on purpose because it was a conscious decision to give trust a go. My brain had to be rewired to trust consciously. The story qualifies for another talk. Hopefully, Lisa will give me another chance like that, although I can't reveal details. It involves a lot. Um, Now, I live with the unknown, and in fact, I'm excited about the unknown. The things that used to make me lose my sleep still occasionally make me lose my sleep, but instead of anxiety, it's the excitement that does it. My heart beats faster and aches in hearing some news when I have to make some decisions. But instead of anxiety, it is actually the euphoric feeling of doing something new and exciting that's giving me the aches. Forgiveness, gratefulness are two common feelings that I associate myself with. Don't get me wrong, I still have bad days, and the bad days are bad. Less frequent though. Those days, smudged mascara, snotty face, crying in the bathroom, a bit louder. those things still happen. After all, I'm a human being. Like I said at the beginning of the talk, anxiety is a healthy response of the body. There are over 8 million cases of anxiety in UK, and the age range varies from as young as 5-year-olds to old age. What would be their lives like if they could turn their fears into positive actions and excitement? What would our home lives look like for our children if their parents were fully emotionally available to their children? What would our workplaces look like if the workforce is excited instead of scared? What would the schools be like if the um, children don't feel anxious and stressed anymore, and then they have their focus? So there are many words used next to the healing journey: beat, recover, manage, heal. What felt right to me is close the door to anxiety. It served me well for a long time. It kept me safe. It made me stronger and extremely vulnerable at the same time. I am thankful and grateful for all the benefits that anxiety has given me, but it's no longer serving me, so I closed the door to it. I would like to share hope with all of you today and that it can be done. Thank you.
Oh, for some reason I'm not coming
Still
back on
recording.
screen, but I will come back on screen in a second. Thank you, Nisanka. That was
Oh,
absolutely amazing. Your story, it's you tell it in such a way that that's how it was. But I would imagine that growing up in that environment must have been very scary. Um, but
it was, yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, it's made you who you are today, and I think that's what you see when you talk about forgiveness and gratitude. I think I know myself. I've been through personal trauma, nothing like yours, but I can now look back and I'm grateful for having gone through that because it's made me who I am today. And I think it's the same for you, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It was absolutely scary. I think that's why I said when my daughter was going through those ages, and my memories kept coming in one after the other, and it was really scary. It was scary even at the age of 30, I think 37, 38, when I started dealing with it. It was scary even then. Um, but again, that's what, like you said, that's what makes you who you are. Very sympathetic, empathetic. I can really feel someone else's pain energetically. I can tune into it. That makes me a great therapist because I can actually energetically tune into people. And also, that's what's given me the vision to actually change the way that people treat women. And we are all born for a purpose, and I think when I found my purpose, and the first thing that came to my mind was this suppression and oppression is still going in Sri Lanka, and I am actually going to change this. I am If I change 5 people's lives, I think I've achieved my mission. Well, obviously I've got better vision and mission, but what I'm saying is if I could influence people that way, then I've achieved something. So I think everything I went through is because I was going to change somebody else's life.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful and grateful that it's all happened.
Yeah. And you mentioned very briefly in your talk about this charity that you want to set up in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Just tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so the charity is the vision for the charity is to raise awareness to begin with, to change some of the cultural practices that's really ingrained in our culture that is contributing to oppression and suppression of women and limiting women. Women makes half of the country, right? They need to come into the workforce, and also they're the main caregiver because we have the ability to give birth. Not that we have to choose to give birth all the time. It's a choice that we can make. But we when you change a woman's life, it has that butterfly impact, and it is about creating that mother who is emotionally available, because the childhood adversity experiences causes many of the depression and anxiety later in people's life. But when we are not ready to give that attachment to children, there's nothing we can do about it. So changing one woman's life will actually mean you're saving many adults to come in the future. So just creating that butterfly effect. So educating people, raising awareness, making people come forward and talk about their harrowing experience. Those are all part of it, but as well as the charity funding money and giving jobs and talking about safeguarding and how to safeguard children and the impact of lack of awareness and training and practice, good practice or when it comes to safeguarding. Those are all part of the charity. So lots of work to do, lots of work to do. But I've already I've already started leaving, planting little seeds, just talking to people in forums and inviting people into my Let's Talk Anxiety group, just spread the message. So
Yeah. And that's what it all starts from one little seed, doesn't it?
it does.
One little seed. Yeah. So the Let's Talk Anxiety is your private Facebook group, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
know you launched it a month or so ago,
About
September.
3 weeks ago. Yeah, three
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah. And it's you go in there very often, and I know that you do fantastic lives, and you have guest speakers coming in, and hopefully I might be one.
Yes, you will be.
Yeah. So that is, people can find that by searching for Let's Talk Anxiety.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's a, sorry, can I talk a little bit
Mm,
about that? Because it's a valuable space. There are live sessions, but again, one of the things I believe in the healing journey is sometimes people find different modalities at different times of their journey,
mm,
and one thing doesn't fit for all. So my mindset is all about like abundant mindset. So I invite all the therapists, different types of modalities, and so they can be made aware of the things that's available to them.
yeah,
If you're not happy one thing, don't stick with it. Just move on
yeah,
because you know in the gut that it doesn't work for you anymore. Don't settle down for anything that you're not happy with. So that's one of the things. And the other thing is giving practical hints, and also it comes down to making you feel comfortable about talking about. I think we still have this stigma about mental health.
mm,
If you break a leg, you go back to work or you go back to society and you talk about, I broke my leg, and people go, oh my goodness, did you? How are you going? I go back and I talk about, and this is my personal experience as well. I talk about I've had depression and anxiety, and people don't
no,
know
they
what
go,
to
oh,
say.
I don't want to. Yeah,
People don't know what to say. It's okay to ask, how was that for you?
yeah,
How was that for you? It's okay to ask. So we cover all of that aspects in the group.
yeah. And I
Telling
think
you, yeah.
that's partly what sits behind Inspiring Talks is to allow people to share their stories and to bring these things out into the open so that people are aware that it's not unusual that they feel like that. It's okay to cry, it's okay to fall apart, it's okay to struggle, but the more we can share that with each other, the better the world will be. And I think we are definitely seeing that sea change, but I think we've still got a long way to go.
It is indeed, because mental health is not a tick box
No.
exercise. It should never be. It has long roots to ancestral work and the childhood, and it's a massive, vast area. So it should never be treated as a tick box exercise to say somebody's coming delivering a workshop. It's not the way it should be, and
No,
that's not how I perceive it.
no, absolutely not. So people can find your Let's Talk Anxiety Facebook page. How else can they find you if they want to?
My website, www.coachingwithnisanka.com, and my email, nisanka@coachingwithnisanka.com. Let me spell my name actually.
Well, I tell you what, it's actually written down on your picture.
That is right,
They
yes.
can see your email address on your picture, so
Yes, yes.
that will be fine. Well, thank you so much for coming back in and doing your talk and having a little chat with me. It's been really great to hear your story again. You are an inspirational lady. Absolutely. I love your energy and your passion, and I'm sure that you're going to do really well with your coaching work and also with your charity in Sri Lanka. So thank you so much, and hope to
Thank you
see you
very much.
at a live event when we can get back there.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, you take care.